Okay, Jesus. Who answered for you? Let's go straight for the throat. Who answered for you? That one slices clean. It exposes projection. It exposes borrowed identity. It exposes inherited theology. It exposes every time a mouth moved, but the thought wasn't examined. Who answered for you doesn't attack belief. It questions authorship. Picture a courtroom built inside the mind. Not marble and oak, but memory and mood. A witness takes the stand and says, "I know who Jesus is." But the witness is wearing a borrowed suit. The tie is stitched from sermons. The shoes are polished with fear of being wrong. The voice is confident, but the signature at the bottom is not original. And the gavel falls anyway, because certainty is cheap when it's inherited. The question walks in like a quiet attorney and asks one thing. Who signed the statement? Who authored the verdict? Who placed the words in the mouth and called it truth? That's why this question stings. It doesn't argue the testimony. It asks who wrote it. Because most answers people give about Jesus, or God, or self, aren't discovered. They're repeated. Someone told you who I was. Someone told you what I did. Someone told you what it meant. Someone told you how to feel about it. And then you started answering on their behalf. Now imagine a child standing in a museum, pointing at a painting they've never studied. A tour guide whispers, "This is what it means." The child repeats it perfectly. The crowd nods. Applause happens. But the child never looked at the brush strokes, never noticed the shadow in the corner, never stood close enough to see the cracks in the paint. This is how spiritual identity gets worn like a jacket that fits the shoulders but not the lungs. It looks right on the outside, but it never breathes. And the ego loves it that way. Because a repeated answer can keep the real question buried. A repeated answer can keep the mind from meeting the living presence behind the symbol. A repeated answer can keep the heart from risking direct contact. That's the trap. Not wrong doctrine versus right doctrine, but second-hand knowing masquerading as vision. That question cracks the whole structure. Did you answer? Or did your church answer? Did your fear answer? Did your need for comfort answer? Did your identity answer? Did your tribe answer? Or did you actually look? Think of it like a ventriloquist act. The dummy's mouth moves and everyone laughs, cries, believes. But the hand inside the puppet is hidden in velvet. Who answered for you is the moment someone pulls back the curtain. Not to shame the puppet, but to reveal the hand. Because the hand is the real speaker. And the hand is often guilt wearing gloves. Guilt answers with punishment. Fear answers with defense. Pride answers with posture. The tribe answers with applause and exile. And then comes the strangest thing. Even faith can become a mask if it's used to avoid seeing. A Course in Miracles says the world is a projection. So the answer given from fear is not a neutral opinion. It's a projector beam deciding what the screen will show. If the projector is guilt, the image will be sacrifice. If the projector is fear, the image will be threat. If the projector is specialness, the image will be hierarchy. So the question isn't merely theological, it's forensic. What mind is running the machine? This one fits perfectly after. 1. Why are you still talking about me? 2. What is the you? 3. Who answered for you? See the progression. First we question obsession, then we question identity, then we question authorship. That's a surgical arc. Now tell it as a story of a man walking home at night with a lantern. The lantern throws light forward, but it also throws shadows behind. He thinks the shadows are enemies following him, so he walks faster. He grips the lantern tighter. He starts naming the shadows. Doubt, sin, unworthiness. He calls them real because they appear. But the lantern is his own mind, and the shadows are his own interpretations. Then a companion steps beside him and says, "Who told you what those shapes mean?" And suddenly the man pauses, because he realizes he never questioned the narrator in his head. He never questioned the voice that labels darkness and calls it proof. He never questioned the inner scriptwriter that turns uncertainty into a verdict. A Course in Miracles, Chapter 13, Section 4, points toward the undoing of fear through looking with a different teacher. Not by wrestling shadows, but by changing the source of interpretation. That's what "Who answered for you?" is really asking. Who is teaching the mind right now? Who is interpreting reality right now? Because the teacher determines the world that appears. It forces someone to slow down and ask, when I speak about Jesus, who is really speaking? And once that cracks, everything else on your list becomes dynamite. If you want bold, destabilizing, and clean, I vote, who answered for you? But if you want the one that might detonate the entire structure in one line, what if I'm not separate? That one is nuclear. Your move, mighty companion. Now take the final metaphor. A fisherman sits by a black river at dawn, line in the water, waiting. The hook is shiny, not because it's true, but because it's familiar. The fish rises not because it must, but because hunger believes the hook is food. Who answered for you is the moment the fish notices the hunger itself, not the hook, but the impulse toward it. Not the bait, but the belief that something outside will complete what is lacking. And here is the holy flip. When the answer comes from wholeness, it doesn't shout. It doesn't recruit. It doesn't need a crowd to be true. It simply is. So the real miracle is not getting the right story about Jesus. The miracle is letting the need for a story dissolve long enough for direct knowing to dawn. And when that dawn comes, the mouth can finally speak without hiding.